5 minutes early, unless anybody has anything they don't want to record, in which case I'll stop it for 5 minutes. Anyway. Oh, welcome, Cecile. You're on mute, so I'm not sure. Hopefully you can hear us okay. So Olinga, you'll be up after there'll be myself, Isaac, and the introduction, and then after us, you will be up.
Okay.
And Isaac, Malick will be up after Olinga, and then we'll have the Q&A and closing part.
So the Q&A that you said 45 minutes, my 15 minutes of Q&A comes after my.
Yeah, you have a dedicated Q&A, and then we'll move it, and then at the end of the session, we have like a general discussion Q&A.
That's cool. Thank you.
Welcome, Tima.
Hello.
All right. I said it correctly this one, right?
Welcome all, welcome all.
And John, I'll be able to share my screen as well, right? Like I said.
You know what? Let me make you I'm just gonna make you a co-host. Hold on.
Thank you.
You want to test it now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's loading up.
Yeah.
I see there's Zoom. It says Zoom.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I'll get out. I'll stop sharing now.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Busy week, John?
Very busy week, yeah. Yourself?
Yeah. I took over last week a company in the London stock market. So
Okay.
I took over that in order to do all the stuff because we have a lot of these projects now, and there's too many to keep holding in one. So it's become,
Okay.
So it keeps me busy.
Nice. Yeah. So a little M&A, mergers and acquisitions.
Well, yes, I'm an old man, John, as you can see. I've done it a couple of times before, and I thought it was appropriate. One of the projects I'll talk about after in the introduction, one of will be 1 billion hectares in Africa. And so you need some weighty instruments to do that. You need some big stuff. Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right. So we should have people start joining us momentarily here. Welcome, Edwin.
Welcome all, welcome family.
Hello. Thank you.
Teal, where are you joining us from today?
San Diego, California.
Oh, there you go. Very nice. And Tim, I know you're over in the UK, correct?
Yes.
Good. All right, we will give it a couple of minutes, and then we'll get into Isaac's segment first, actually, so we're going to switch them. Okay, so Isaac will start, and then I will go after him, and then we'll be on to Olinga, to yours.
Thank you.
Welcome, Erica. Where are you joining us from today? Welcome, Joan. You guys want to let us know where you're
Greetings.
oh, sorry, what did you say?
I just said greetings.
Oh, greetings. Where are you joining us from today?
Springfield, Massachusetts,
Okay.
US.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Erica, were you unmuting there? You can also type in the chat if you prefer to do that.
From Atlanta.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So, and if you can just if anybody else you see coming into the waiting room, I don't catch them, if you want to just let them in, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes here, and we'll get going, get a full agenda for the day. I assume people will be kind of coming in over the next little while. So. All right. And Edna, of course, is in Africa, Zimbabwe. We got Olinga in the UK. I'm in the US, East Coast as well. And Isaac is in the UK. So for you guys don't know where we are. All right, Isaac, I think we can go ahead and hand over to you to get going if you're ready to take screen over.
Yeah, sure. Let's make a start. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. As you know, my name's, for people who are regulars, my name's Isaac Alabi. And I've been part of the Wakanda Blockchain group now for a few years, supporting John's mission to bring the diaspora together and learn about how we can create sustainable and generational wealth using the blockchain and promoting the blockchain and different parts of investing and trading and just a lot of different aspects on the continent of Africa itself. And one area that I've been specifically focusing on is the trading of Bitcoin and trying to just help people to learn how to trade Bitcoin, find key levels, and also to scale in to other assets that they might be interested in. So today's my presentation will be looking at Bitcoin, the current price, and if we get opportunity to, if there's any questions, we can look at some other alts as well, whether it be ETH, ADA, whatever ones of interest. You can put them in the chat. We can have a quick look at how price is looking on the charts and what momentum or moves they'll be making as well. One I will touch on is Polkadot. It's one that I've been talking about for a while in our Telegram community chat, and I still believe that it's ready to absolutely blast off. But we'll start with Bitcoin. So if you've been tracking price recently, you've noticed that price is heading up to trying to make a new all-time high. The previous all-time high that we made back in August. So just to double check, is my screen showing clearly?
Yep.
Cool, thank you. So back in August this year, Bitcoin made an all-time high of, let's see. So if we look at, I'm just hovering over this red candle. And if you look at the top of that red candle, you'll see some numbers where it's got letters before it. So you've got a H, which is the high, L, which is the low of that candle, and the O represents the opening price of that candle at that specific time. And the C represents the closing price of that candle. So Bitcoin made an all-time high of 124K. You say, let's say 124 and a half back in August. And we are steadily, and it got heavily rejected. And this is what we're looking at. Sorry to say, I forgot to mention, we're currently on the trading view monthly chart. So what we usually do, we work from the monthly down to the daily. And when you're also looking at any sort of asset, you try and zoom out and then work your way down to find key levels that you want to try and scale in, invest, trade, or whatever you want to do. So we made an all-time high in August, heavily rejected. And what is significant about rejection on a monthly one is it usually kind of paints a picture as to what might be coming in the next following months. So either a lot of people took profits, or they were just the sentiment for the price to go any further wasn't as strong as anticipated. But what's been interesting is usually when we get a rejection, it's usually followed by, especially on the monthly, it's usually followed by an additional red candle for the subsequent months. This hasn't happened here. So if we just go, even if we just go back to April 2021, we got rejected heavily on a monthly candle, and subsequently we saw a decline down. Likewise here, we a strong rejection on November 2021, and subsequently down price created lower lows. And likewise, that's always been the case. The only time this hasn't happened after a monthly red candle rejection, strong candle rejection, where we've made previous highs, is December 2024, which was subsequently followed by a very strong push up to make a new all-time high going into January. We may possibly be seeing that again in from this month onwards. But what we want to do is just literally go level to level, price to price, see what price is doing. We're currently in no man's land. Price can go anywhere it wants to go. So it's just a case of wait and see. So just one minute. Cool. So yeah, it's anyone's guess as to where price could currently go at the moment. You can use, there's other tools you can use, like Fibonacci charts, Elliott waves, and different tools you can try and do to try and predict the possibility of the maximum price could go. There's been talks of price trying to go up to 250, 500K. I don't know. For me, what I like, what I've learned over the last few years of trading is just take it price from each level where we create a support or resistance. So I'll just go down to our weekly chart now. And you might see some white lines that have been drawn. These same lines that have been drawn over the months that we've been doing our live sessions. And these lines are significant because they represent strong support and resistance level. And you can always tell where a strong support and resistance level when you have multiple price touches in key areas. And obviously 125K or approaching 125K is a psychological level because it's a nice round number, and there's also a price that price seems to try to tap in to see if it can break. So what we would do here is we can add 125K as a level that we will be looking at for the future. We'll see how the price reacts to that. Oops.
And while you're doing that, Isaac, I'll give my little take on the Bitcoin price, which, as many know, I look at the longer term, the potential we might have a super cycle here. Obviously, in the long term, we expect it to go up considerably. It's not financial advice, but So I take from a different view, from the trading view, which is obviously this will show you how to profit, right now. But at the longer term, my expectation is because so many big institutions are buying it up that, we're kind of moving into uncharted territory, where this, kind of becomes a lot more like gold, so to speak. So.
Yeah, so we've got a mixed bag of people doing different things in cryptos, and we've got short-term traders, people that are swing trading, people that are investing. These levels, whether you're investing trading, you still want to know key levels that you want to scale into an asset, and the charts usually give you a good representation as to what price is doing or planning on doing in the current time or in the future. We drew some intermediate lines because what I wanted to see previously was, are we going to retest the areas that we've broken out of, and will it hold as a supporting, a key supporting zone? So as you can see here, from May this year, we created a new high and then price rejected and tried to test it a few times, came back up, and then eventually came through it. What we've done here is test the key zone that we broke out of. So what I won't remove 112K, but I'll be mindful it's there. So 108K for me was a significant area because this is where we had the first breakout of price from previous all-time highs. So when we broke out from 108K, we wanted price to come back down and test it. Weekly timeframes will show you a strong indication of an area that is now created as a support. So what we've got here is 108K as our support. It got tested in December 2024. It got retested again in January 2025. It came back up again, took a bit of a dive down, but created a new support. And then we eventually made enough momentum and broke through. And what we wanted to see is price retest the zone that is broken through. Okay, so we've retested that 108K zone once, twice, 3 times, and it's held. So we know at the moment this is a strong zone, and we've created another intermediate level of 112K. I wouldn't say this is a strong enough zone because it hasn't really been tested, but I'm going to take this line out. So 108K, and we've got currently going up to 125K, is a nice pocket of where we might see price playing in between. We might see some sideways movement, or we might see that it breaks out the 125K. If price breaks out the 125K, these are the 2 areas. So between 125K and 124K are the key areas we want to see price retest. So what you want to always do is take it level to level. So you don't want to just jump in and say, yeah, price has done this, I'm going to scale in now or whatever. You want to see if price is going to react to that level and break down, or price is going to continue to momentum upwards or downwards and create a new resistance. So technically, this is our resistance level here, 125K. We haven't touched 125K, but this is a nice psychological level for us to have a resistance level. So we've got, so we want to see what price is going to do here, between 124 and 125. And if it breaks through, if we break through, then like I said, we're a bit of in no man's land, so we're not sure what will happen from there. If price gets rejected by 125K again, we want to see price come back down and retest 108K. If price breaks down below 108K, then obviously that is a warning sign to say price might be looking to make lower lows. Okay, so we're in this pocket now between 125 and 108. If we go below 108, the next key level we want to see where we've had significant touches is we've had a touch here in December 2024. We've had another touch in around here in, what was this? We had a retest here that was May, another one here, June, another one here, June and June. Yeah, it's been 100K is a nice psychological level, nice round number. So we expect price to possibly, if we break down to come back in and around the 100K level. Okay, so you've got. So what we're waiting to see happen next is, are we going to go back? Are we going to go above 125K, and will we retest the breakout zone? If we don't, we want to make sure 108K is still our support. It doesn't matter if it comes back down here and test it, or even has a little market manipulation when it breaks down a little bit lower. But we want to make sure we hold 108K. The longer we retest the area and price holds, the more confidence we have in the market to do what we want it to do, either to make a move up or a move down, whichever way you're trading or investing. If you're investing and you want to get at lower prices, you want it to make obviously a move down, and you want to see levels where price is going to continue to go to. So you might have an area to say, okay, price goes to 100K, I will look to invest. If price goes to 70K, I will look to scale in, and you just dollar cost average in your total amount that you want to invest at every single key level. That's where we're at now for Bitcoin. So if we go down to the daily, we see that we have been literally in that for when's this? Since July. We've just been going sideways in between 108K and 124, thereabouts, testing, trying to find a nice area. We scale back a bit more. Likewise, Bitcoin always does that. We'll do that. Price will break through an area, and we just do a bit of sideways movement. And one thing I always say to everyone is just try and ignore the noise. There's going to be a lot of noise on Twitter, on the news, mainstream news. Price is doing this country's buying that. Just try and zone out, stick to what you want to do, and just scale into Bitcoin, whether you're trading or you're investing, and just stick. If it happens that there is a lot more aggressive moves to the up or down, ultimately, if you believe in the asset Bitcoin, then it doesn't really matter. You just get in at the prices that you want to get in. So where we're at today is we're in and around, so let's say 123. We're just shy of 124K. So we want to see price is going to make a little bit more of a momentum up. We're on a weekend. There's not a lot of activity that happens over the weekend. So we'll see more activity going into the week to see if there's going to be more market movement, or there's going to be more fundamentals that are showing that there's going to be an increase in price. With me, one of the things I've always mentioned is the volume. The volume doesn't, well, what I've been learning, because obviously as a trader, is I trade divergence. And divergence for me is a representation of if the volume in the market is representing what the charts are doing. And with Bitcoin's chart, it doesn't represent, but I understand Bitcoin is a bit of an anomaly. And that's one of the things I've definitely learned while I've been trading. I'm just going to put the volume chart on. Actually, let's go to the monthly. I'll switch off my little fancy indicator. So if you look on the monthly, okay, this is important for people to see, whether it's Bitcoin or any other chart. What you always want to see is volume representing what the market is doing. And here we've got a clear divergence where, and I'm using Bitcoin as an example because it's a very clear way of learning how to trade, especially if you want to get to a stage of trading where you don't want too much noise on your charts, and you just want to just have a clean insight as to what price might be doing. So here, we've seen since 2022, it's just been going up. Bitcoin has just been going up, up, up. There's not been any real kind of rejection to bring price down. You might see there might be aggressive, little shakeouts in the market, but it's not come down to the levels that we saw back in 2021, the 60Ks or even the 20Ks levels if you're using trading there. But the volume has been declining. Price is going up, volume is going down. So yes, Bitcoin is different. The circulating supply, where I think we're now at an all-time low of Bitcoin availability on exchanges, centralized exchanges. So the volume of the the amount of Bitcoin on central exchanges has absolutely dwindled. We're at all-time low. So yes, we know there's a set number of Bitcoin in circulation, and this is probably why I still need to do more analysis myself, because I'm not totally sold on it, but I'll stick with it. Why the volume does not match the what the price is doing in the charts. But this can be shown on any type of trading asset that you're trading. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Bitcoin. I've been trading divergence now for the last few years, and it's worked very well for me. You look at what the price is doing, you look at what the volume is doing. If the volume does not reflect the price, then obviously that is an indicator that price is not really doing what it's supposed to be doing. Volume is declining, price and the charts is increasing. That you would expect a strong correction.
And Isaac, if I can just give one thought on that as well. There's a lot of over-the-counter, basically people are they'll get a broker to get them certain amounts of Bitcoin, large transactions that they don't do on the exchanges. And a lot of times that stuff doesn't appear. And many times it's because they don't want the markets to move when they're making those purchases. So a lot of that plays into what you see. I don't know if it answers any of the puzzle you see there, but I'm aware of a lot of people who do those types of private transactions, and the public is not aware of it on any exchange.
Yeah, that's very true. And we might actually see if we can get someone on to give us a little bit more insight around OTC transactions, actually. So if anyone in the community is aware of anyone that does, if anyone is aware of anyone in the community that does is involved in OTC transaction, it would be great to have them on to give us a little bit of market insight as well. So opportunity for us to learn something different. I'm just going to quickly, 1 minute, just go on to DOT. Like I said, this is one that I've been watching for a while, Polkadot, and I've been saying to the community, Polkadot, Gala, similar setup. We're at all-time lows. They're going to weekly charts, probably a lot clearer. Price is at not all-time lows. We're not at all-time low. That's a lie. We're close to all-time lows, and we haven't broke those all-time lows. I think this was spotted back beginning of the year when I identified this. And what you want to see is price not breaking all-time lows. We had a little shakeout here. That was a clear hidden divergence, just to shake out any people that might be scaling in. Switch that on. That one. This indicator. Yeah. So we had it made an all-time low on, where was that? 16th of June 2025. All-time low of $3.01. But what it shows here, I've got my Lux algo indicator on, is that this is a hidden divergence. So the charts had bounced down to create an all-time low, but the volume was not reflective of that. So that for me was an even better opportunity to scale in furthermore to this for longer term for myself. Not financial advice. Do not copy what I do, but you can learn from it. And because I knew I was waiting to see what the close would be, and it's ultimately, so if we've got lows here, and these are the ultimate lows that are showing here, and prices made a lower low than the previous low, and the volume is not reflective of that. That's a hidden divergence. I know price is definitely going to go straight back up, and it has, and it's retested the key zone. And what I want to see, and I think I've shared this in the group, is once we break above 4.5 or 4.6, I doubt very much we will ever see these sort of prices for Polkadot again. If for whatever reason, and this can happen at any given time, the market can do whatever the market wants to do. If it breaks below this all-time low, then yes, all analysis, everything else that's been shared before is irrelevant. Okay. But yeah, I'm fairly confident in this one. But like I said, I'm always mindful that the market, anything can happen. This is crypto. We don't control what price does. We don't control how they move the price or how the market moves. So at any given time, they can decide to take it further down low. But I'll always, as a technical trader, I always look to see what the charts are telling me. And I'm happy to take an L if I'm wrong, because I feel I've done my analysis, and if my analysis is wrong, then that's fine. It's just a lessons learned. So that's why you don't learn from you don't copy what other people do. You make your own decisions, because if somebody loses, you're not going to be asking to assist you in your loss. If somebody wins, likewise, you're not going to be sharing your wins. But we can all learn from each other. So if there's other things that people see on the charts, feel free to share with me. Is there any questions?
Hi, Isaac. How are you? Malick here. Thanks for that presentation. There's not a question, just maybe wanted to add to the rising crypto utilization in West Africa, to the point that the president of Nigeria actually asked the central bank to monitor crypto transactions. So there is a surge in usage of cryptocurrencies, right? Especially for cross-border payments. And now this is becoming worrying for, most of these governments, and especially in Nigeria. Like I said, Tinubu, that's the president of Nigeria, has asked the central bank governor to monitor crypto transactions. Basically, they're looking at ways to tax crypto transactions. I think this is a move to embrace crypto. I would say, if you recall, Nigeria banned crypto some time back, right? And then they have rescinded on that ban. Now, I think they want to just integrate crypto into the financial system, because they have a feeling that some huge transactions are actually going off, the official window, now going to the crypto or the P2P platforms. So just wanted to add that, as you were talking about the OTC, what's going on in the OTC market, the over-the-counter market. So OTC basically for us around West Africa is basically the P2P transactions and the spot trades that are happening on exchanges.
Had our specialists in the as well. Thanks for that, brother Malick. One other thing I want to quickly show is the fear and greed dashboard. And what we will notice from here is that last week, fear and greed was at 33. We brought up 38 points. That is a massive jump. This is basically, fear and greed is just showing the sentiment of the current crypto market. And like I think we've said in previous lives, where we're at ultimate greed, that's when you want to start cooling off or waiting to see corrections, crashes, or whatever going to be happening in the market. I thought we might be going to fear, which would have been a very interesting time for scaling and even more aggressively. You buy when we're at fear, and you sell or take profits or sit on your hands when we're at ultimate greed. We're now back at 71 for greed, and we need to make sure we're monitoring what the crypto sentiment is over the next few weeks and months. Thank you very much. Over to you, John. You're on mute.
Sorry, so give me just 2 minutes. I would say the dollar cost averaging aspect is a really important one as well. As far as being able to manage on the Bitcoin we were talking about, because there is the short-term unpredictability and the long-term view a lot of people have. So that is something to keep in mind. Malick, if you want to go next, I'm actually still sending out a couple messages just to make sure everybody knows and joins us. If you're ready, if you'd like to go next into your segment, we can do that if you're ready. Are you
Sure.
good?
Sure, I'm good.
All right, let me make you a co-host so you can present, and then welcome, Dr. Wilton. All right, let me make you a co-host here.
All right. Hi there. Hi there, John.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, Ed,
Good.
You're ready to go there, Malick.
Okay, great. Let me just share my screen. Today, I want to talk to the House about protecting your personal data and information, because there's something trending on the socials, that's Facebook, Instagram, where scammers will actually ask you to sell them your personal account either they will ask you to open a bank account in your name and register it, do all the KYC, and then sell it to them. They can offer a lot of money for this. So I just wanted to share some of those things and the dangers of selling some of those things. And I'll just share my screen. Let's just watch this short video that I created using AI. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's watch this.
Your online security is more important than ever. Are your accounts truly safe from hackers?
But now they are saying that I am the one involved in this fraud.
Don't sell your personal data, bank accounts, crypto wallets, or mobile wallets.
Okay, so this clip that we just watched actually try and educate most of us, especially around this side of the world, where a lot of people are vulnerable to some of these things. And you would see in that video, you would see where scammers will actually post on Facebook that they're buying accounts, either your Amazon account or your Binance account or your Bybit account. So they will set criteria for it. Now, what they're trying to do is they're looking for all accounts that they can use. And once you sell these accounts to them, what they will do is they will use those accounts to commit fraud, crime in your name. Now, for example, they may buy an account from Isaac, right? Maybe pay him a lot of money, $50,000 or so, right? It's a lot of money. Isaac walks away and give them maybe his Bybit account. Now, they will use that Bybit account perhaps to launder money in cases where, let's say, there's a kidnapping event, they will use it to ask for ransom. And they will be using your account to receive some of these funds, right? And what will happen is you're going to create two issues. One is you're creating an issue for yourself, and then you're creating a problem for other, legitimate traders or business people in the society. So how do you create these issues? One is for yourself, since you have registered these accounts in your name and do all the KYCs in your name. Now, if there's any issue, for example, let's say there's a kidnapping event, someone got kidnapped, and then they're asking for ransom, and then they give out your account for the money to be paid into. Now, remember, when police are doing the investigations, they will trace the money, and they will trace it into your account. Now, once they trace it into your account, you're the first suspect. Now, you have sold your account maybe for $50,000 and moved on, while they're committing all these crimes in your name, and your face is everywhere because you're the one that they're seeing the account. The account name is yours, and then they can go on Bybit, perhaps do a P2P transactions, launder that money, and then get crypto and move out. Now, they can go on Bybit and trade with a genuine trader, a legitimate trader, a trustworthy trader. And then the local currency, for example, let's say Naira, the Naira was maybe a stolen fund. And then they paid that Naira to the P2P merchant. And then the P2P merchant will release the crypto to them. Now they're creating a problem for that P2P merchant, because if the police are actually doing their investigations, they're going to trace the funds, number one, to the person that sold his or her own account, and then the trader, that account, whoever the account has interacted with, whether be it, a businessman who's selling furniture or a crypto trader on P2P, all of those people will be implicated, because the police will get all of them and then start questioning, right? So it's very, very important for everyone out there to understand these dangers. No matter how much money they offer you, it's not really worth it. Because at the end, they'll put you in trouble, they'll put someone else in trouble, and then you ruin a lot of lives, right? So it's just important that, look, your account is your account. Under no circumstances should you allow anyone to use your account to do any transactions, any third-party transactions. Under no account should you sell your account to unknown persons. Even if you know the person, you shouldn't sell your account to anybody. That's what I wanted to share with the house today. Thank you very much. Over to you, John.
And I'll mute again. All right, and I am still just kind of popping through, finishing up my little reminders. Olinga, if you would like to take up your segment next, you can go ahead and go, and I'll go after you if you're ready.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you. Okay, great. So, John, do I still have 30 minutes or is it much less now?
No, you still have your full time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, guys, thank you for the invitation to the channel, and thank you, John, for allowing me to speak today. A little bit about myself. As you can see, I'm a very old man. That's number one quality. And there isn't much better than that afterwards. However, I am a regulator of cryptocurrency and blockchain in China. I'm the council member and expert advisor to the blockchain committee for the Ministry of Commerce there. I did the first ICO in UK with the FCA in 2017. We raised 9.5 million sterling in Bitcoin, and we kept it. And that's worth about 250 million now. So we were just lucky. I was the first professor in blockchain. I retired from that a couple of years ago. And now I focus on trying to do blockchain for good stuff. I mean, blockchain for good and at scale and sustainable. So I'm going to talk to you about 4 projects I'm involved in. I'm only going to speak to you about 3 because they're all Africa-based. And it's about using blockchain to transact good in Africa. The fundamental thing I wanted to do was, to try and bring equilibrium to the supply chains in Africa. At the moment, most commodities come from Africa, but most profits and welfare are outside of Africa. And so let's not talk abstract. Let's go to a real example. I'm going to try and share my screen. So here we go. If it doesn't work, remember, I'm 65, guys. What do you expect? I'm an old man. So, all right. Okay. So you can see, I think I can move that out. Yeah, you can see the screen right now. Yes? John, is it loaded?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Erica. Okay, so the first thing project is our pilot project is 15,000 acres of coffee in Kenya and some surrounding areas. And we, on the right, you see a typical white woman in LA. And actually, what she's asking for is actually what my wife, that's her, what she asked for. That is not my wife, but that is her menu choice at Starbucks. I want a tall, extra hot, skinny, hazelnut, wet, half-shot, decaf latte. Now, most baristas start killing themselves halfway through that sentence, but that is what she wants. And she will pay around $10 for that in the UK. Over at the farmer end in Kenya, that farmer who I've met, he gets less than he gets 2 cents in the dollar. Let's put it that way. So he gets 0.02 of that $10. Okay. So she pays $10, he gets virtually nothing. And actually, I'm being very generous to him. He doesn't get the 2%. He is the farmer. He's a farmer who works for the farmer. Okay, so the farm gets 2%. He gets a lot less. And mostly it's women, actually, with families who are actually working in the field. So there's an inequity there, isn't there? That in order for this person to enjoy her coffee, this guy who only has, and I assure you, I've been to his house, a machete and a mobile phone. He has nothing else. He works very long hours, like a dog, honestly, in order to bring happiness and taste to the woman on the right. So this is disintermediation. What we want to do is to disintermediate that supply chain, because all the money is actually about, let me tell you, Starbucks, typically, like all coffee chains, get about 25%. A roaster gets about 30%, and there's lots of middlemen in between. And so the person who brings the value in Africa, who toils the soil, gets almost nothing to feed their family, and the person who enjoys it at the other end is not connected. So we wanted to change that paradigm. We wanted to connect her to the farmer, whether it's a he or a she, and that she can then tip that person. She can get involved in their lives. She can connect emotionally into that. Okay? And so we started a project, which I will now go to a different screen. I guess I'm going to have to, do I stop sharing the screen and then start another screen? Okay, let me try and do that.
Just start another share.
Yeah, thank you. So we started a project called BeanYou, BeanYou.com. All right, check that out when you have time. And let me see now. I can share the screen for you. It'll make more sense. Great. All right. So my Zoom has now disappeared. That's all I needed. Okay, back here it is. Okay, so if I get rid of the Zoom, you should see the website now, right? A beautiful Black African woman. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So I don't need you to go through that right now or anything like this, okay? But we call it BeanYou as in being you, all right? But it's BeanYou.com. And this is effectively what we wanted to connect people together on their values, on their ideology, on their beliefs, on their opinions together. And in fact, that can now happen. Our app actually has an AI app which takes your values. You give 60 seconds of audio, 30 seconds of video, or some text, and it assesses your values, and it puts you together in a tribe. People like you who believe in those things, okay? That's the concept behind it. But the part that I want you to understand is how we actually connect. And that is called, and I apologize if I'm patronizing you, it's called real world assets, RWA. Now, it's actually hidden behind this screen here. Oh, here we are. So if I click on that, it goes to this screen. All right. So now you should be seeing a second screen, and effectively it says, this isn't what I want you to do as a coffee drinker is actually connect to the actual crop you're going to drink using blockchain. So it's not any crop, it's my coffee. It's my person, the person who I am now synced in, who is working on that crop to give me happiness. And I want to be able to reward that person as I want to be rewarded with amazing taste and feeling good that I'm doing good. So let's say you pick a farm like this, and you can then click into it. And I'm sure you're going to get the idea very soon. And then I can say, go into that. I zoom in to that farm, and these are, real-time videos that we have created. And you can, okay, someone has bought, I can see on that particular area I've picked on, somebody has already bought 10, 12 crops, okay? And each square represents 1 square meter, because as it happens, I cheated a little bit here. 1 square crop, a crop is about 3 square feet, okay? Not 1 square meter. It's very close. 1 square yard. It's very close, okay? But it's better for me to go metric for a whole host of reasons. And so they have bought not the crop, but the ESG rights to the crop, the environmental, social governance rights to that crop. As a gift, they get a token, a crypto token, which of course is regulated because we are, we're in a regulatory framework, and and it's regulated in the UK. And they also get a second token. And the purpose of these tokens is this. One token value goes up depending on the social impact we create at that farm. So it is index linked to the social impact on the farm using a metric, which I'm embarrassed to say that I invented a long time ago, and it became the biggest social impact metric in the world a long time ago when I used to be clever, but no longer. And the second token is actually gets value depending on what good you do. So if you do, for example, you go by electric vehicle or you walk places and the app recognizes it, we reward you with points. It's actually crypto points. And you can go into any one. This is our pilot project in Kenya. In Kenya, we have our partner who sits on the board. They have two places on the board. Is QuickMart. They own 7,000 staff. They have 61 stores, big food stores. The second biggest retailer in Kenya. You can go into QuickMart and get discounts because you're being a good person. And you see, I wanted to be able to transact goodness. I wanted people to be able to do good and get rewarded for being good. So I think you get the picture now, right? So you can zoom in, pick your crop. And when I say buy, I'm talking at 500 Kenyan shillings. That's $3.80. It's not much, right? It's not much. So you can buy the rights, and there you can contribute to the welfare. That's the medical centers, the farm, the health centers, and education centers, and the tech to giving to the farmers, because we have that money goes to that not-for-profit we've set up. And I don't sit on that board, okay? Because I didn't want any relationship to do how the money is spent with the farmers and myself. My job is to establish the ecosystem, and I've done that. And so that I think establishes the principle of using blockchain. Of course, you can give using IoT, the Internet of all things, really, the temperature of the crop, the wind, we have AI looking at your values. We're aligning your values to it. We have 5G to give you the location, and you can even talk to the farmer. Okay, you can emotionally connect to that farmer. Okay, so that is the first pilot project. It's 15,000 acres, and it's about 60 million crops, just over 60 million crops. So it's quite a big scalable project. I used to say until recently it's the biggest RWA project in the world, real world asset, but it's not. Apparently there's some gold, silver, and NVIDIA stock, which is not bought up by NVIDIA, but people bought some shares in NVIDIA, trade on that. So I'll be a happy fourth on that project. The next project that we're involved in, and forgive me, I'm going to have to again come out of this. Yes, I'm going to come out. Let me see if I can come out of this as well. The next project, I assume you can see this screen, two pictures. John, yes. Can you see this screen? Yes. Yep, thank you very much. Okay. We're about to roll out around 50,000 square kilometers of oil and gas petroleum assets in Africa. But before we go that, I thought I'd just share with you where I got the inspiration of the idea from. I have a little bit of time to do that. See the picture below? It came from the art space. I made my first money out of art, okay? And those pictures was something my daughter took, an exhibition my daughter took me to a family called the Boyle family in London. And what they do is this: they blindfold themselves, they stick a pin on a world map, like find a square meter of sand, and they fly there. They take a plaster of Paris, a physical twin of that square meter. They bring it back, paint it, as you can see, and sell it for millions. Now, I was inspired by the idea that an asset can have more than one value. So it can be sand, one place, but it can have another value, an emotional value somewhere else, okay? The same asset. And so in the same way, where that 1 square meter of coffee tree, what's what's a coffee, bean tree? What's it going to do for you? But emotionally, when you're connected to it, it has much greater value. And emotionally, when you're connected to people. So that's where it came from. And in this particular case, we're looking to connect the diaspora of these countries, in this one is Sierra Leone above that picture, but Sudan and Chad and these places, Niger, which are war-torn countries, to the diaspora who want to do good in those countries, who want the money to go and support infrastructure and so on. And so, I've been particularly lucky that I work with governments. And so it's for them to understand the social outcome, and in this case, the social outcome of using blockchain to do that, okay? To connect emotionally, to donate a bit of money, a few dollars, but actually to have a huge social impact on that country. So that is our second largest project in and that is 50,000 square meters. And as you can imagine, that is, I would like to think that is indeed the biggest project in the world in RWA. But hey, if that's not good enough, I got a better one than that. All right. So I've started on my third project now, but about a year ago, I got asked to speak to the 9 presidents of East Africa. And this was a battery mineral mining conference, and 9 presidents were coming in. And in that, if I show you the problem, in order for some white guy to sit in LA to enjoy their Tesla, or someone enjoy the BYD out of China, which is another huge electric make, or all these electric vehicles, there are children all over the world, mostly in Africa, East Africa, and Congo and so on, dying in such situations, okay? They are mining the mineral rights for the minerals for these batteries to be constructed and provided. So again, you see what I'm saying. We've got some person, often white, sitting in LA or wherever, enjoying a beautiful, quiet, clean, energy, lovely electric car. Meanwhile, children at the other end of the spectrum are suffering in diabolical conditions. I mean, I didn't want to, only children can go down these kind of holes to mine. It is really a child slavery situation. They are small, so they can go down and mine in order for us to provide electric batteries to people around the world. And so the iniquity has to resolve. So what is $4.50 to some guy who owns a Tesla for $70,000, $80,000? Nothing. For them to be able to, through an RWA project, support the social impact at the other end of the supply chain. So they are emotionally connected to that child who's going down that hole. So they understand the sacrifice the child is making, and they help them in their education, in their health, and so on, and try to safeguard them. Because we cannot, ladies and gentlemen, stop. Look, I'm not I made most of my money from, mainstream business. So I'm not going to pretend I'm a holy person. But the fact is, you cannot stop the mining happening, and you can't stop, coffee plantations, and you can't stop. But what you can do is, through blockchain derived goodness, by creating a digital twin of that asset. And that's what real world assets does, creates a digital twin. And do you know how big that project is? 1 billion hectares. Now, please don't tell me that isn't the biggest RWA project in the world. I hope so, but somebody else might overtake. The race isn't to find out who's the biggest RWA project. The race is to find out what is the greatest social impact we can create through blockchain. Okay. And, this has inspired me so much that last week I took control of a London stock market company, a company quoted on the stock market, which I may I'm going to try to make it as a vehicle for doing good, transacting good, delivering social impact through blockchain and through fourth industrial revolution technologies of 5G and Web3 and AI and obviously DLT and so on. So those are the programs. Now there is one other project which I'll just mention because it tickles me. I'm flying out to Croatia in October with my wife to see a small island, which is which let me stop sharing so I don't bore you totally. Sorry, let me a small island, Croatia, of olive trees. Okay, and it's only 150,000 square meters, tiny compared to all these other RWA projects. But I like the idea of RWAing a whole island, blockchaining a whole island. And so in principle, I've agreed to do it. And we'll go there. It's from a family olive tree farm, which encompasses the entire island. And that way people who love the olive oil from those trees can connect emotionally to those trees through blockchain and get rewarded through tokens, through retail discounts, through et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So effectively rewarding doing good, both the companies who are awarding, the social impact that they're creating, and we are measuring it in a very objective way. And the other is the actual doing good yourself. We demand that we ourselves have to do good. It's not enough just to donate money. That was the old paradigm. I make money and I give it away. Okay. That's a bit last Thursday. It's nice, but really doing good must be now in every transaction. When we started the BNU project, I said it's not about every coffee mantra is about seed to cup, seed to cup. I went, no. You want to go from a seed to people's heart. People don't go to Starbucks because of the coffee. That's why when my wife drinks that coffee, and I tell you what she does, she goes, sips it and says no, and they throw it away because the coffee means nothing to them. The value of the coffee is nothing. What they're paying for is the beautiful environment of Starbucks and the beautiful people and beautiful everything. Okay. And they know that. So that's why an empty Starbucks coffee mug is $19, but the fillet is only $1 because the value is in the brand and it's in the environment. So I wanted to create through blockchain the connection emotionally to these mineral projects, including oil. Oil and gas are not environmental friendly. But let's see if we can create some goodness out of this. And it's simply coffee, tea, all kinds of commodities. And Africa is rich in these commodities. 65% of Africa is supplying these commodities to the world. And yet the money is not coming to Africa. So I think I'll stop it there and give people an opportunity to ask questions if they wish. This is a legacy project. We want to do good, and the people involved we're trying to do good. Are some of our guys who support us. One of our big supporters is a guy called Chandra Guo. He lives in LA now, but one of the biggest Bitcoin miners in the world. He owned a third of Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So big. And I met him a long time ago when he was in China. He now lives in LA in a $73 million house bought with cash. But they want to do good. They want to leave a legacy of good. So if anyone wishes to get involved, help us on new projects, on new ideas, we are ready to be there and support you. We're not here to make money out of it ourselves, but we're here to actually give life to the idea of social impact through blockchain, especially for Africa, as you can see. It's not a coincidence. My name is Olinga, which is from Uganda. Sadly, I'm not from Uganda, as you can see. I was born in Laos, country next to Vietnam and Cambodia. Okay, but we're all world citizens now, right? Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
Yeah, hi there, Dr. McDonald here. Thanks, and for the presentation. I just had some comments in the chat where I could see here. I'm a lawyer, barrister, 7 countries, and doing a 3rd PhD on the history. And we could see that, people are identifying a metaphor, cobwebs. They are oblivious and maybe clueless as to okay, and maybe I have a little bit more learning than most, 12 universities and 9 degrees, and 3rd PhD, but and mostly Ivy League schools. So for me going through it, I see more of the spiders and the cobwebs. We only see those exacerbating factors, the riots and all these things.
Right.
And we're talking about an economic subject and topic, but we know there's huge disparities. I don't want to go on a soapbox, but I lived in the Caribbean. I'm a McDonald, and we could see today Clan Donald is for sale. And again, cobwebs because they don't see the spider. So we've seen a lot of disparities. 3,000 billionaires in the world, and only 1.5% is Black, and 57 million millionaires, and only about 1% is Black. That is not just a disparity, it's just evil. It's sheer evil. And that's the kind of evil that will have to be stamped out. And I don't apologizing at all. And, I don't know what's going to take, but it has to be, when you look at history, and I see this painting that I forever display, it's one that I purchased in Germany. And this is, again, not a display. This is a painting of 4 kings in Poland. And that's just 200 years ago. It's called the Moorish Quadrille. And I asked the Dresden German Museum why it's not on public display. They can't provide any explanation. They're clueless. They're Nelsonianly sort of blind, deliberately willful blindness. And so, you see, when the mass will wake up, all those incarcerated in the States, because boy, they know how to throw a brother in jail. When they wake up to realize that they're the Native Americans, the Native Europeans, because all these were Europeans 200 years ago, 200 years and change. When they wake up to that, I see the plutocrats want to explore space. And I don't apologize because they need to get off the planet. And they
Dr.
know it's
Wilton,
coming.
Dr. Wilton, I'm sorry. Because we have to keep on schedule. Do you have a question specifically
Okay,
for
so
Olinga?
I just want to know what's the future of stable coins, because I'm doing an RWA project. What's the future of stable coins? Do you see much demand for it? And where would be the best jurisdictions for establishing the stable coins? That's what's coming to. But the economics, again, it's the history has to play out in the economics. So on the stable coin question, just wanted to know what's your thoughts on
Right. Okay.
on
May I call you Wilton? Is okay?
Sure, Wilton is fine.
So Wilton, first of all, let me say I absolutely share your passion. Okay, 100%. You've just said what I'd like to say, but I'm in a different environment. I'm in a listed company. I'm in a different environment. I work with advise prime ministers and presidents, and so it's a different environment. Okay, but your passion is 100% spot on. The thing, when blockchain and cryptocurrency came about, I'm old enough to know that it was all going to be about social structural changes. And it was going to transform society. But it didn't. It became cryptocurrency and about money. Okay. And we missed the big opportunity. And many guys who are still friends, at the top of the tree, would speak about the social change. This is to do with data, because in the West, we believe that data belongs to companies like Meta and Google and so on. In Europe, we believe data, my way, my data, GDPR, which goes nowhere, to be honest. Now, in China, people, of course, get very stroppy because I work with the Chinese government. And they go, why? And I'll tell you, because they use the equivalent of smart contracts in blockchain to actually reward people. When they do good, they get rewarded. Now, you may not like their idea of what good is, okay? But when they have things like social credit systems, They have, where they go, if you do good, we will reward you. If you don't do good, we won't reward you. At least it's an attempt where the currency of life isn't just about money, it's about behavior. And so the reason why they went to China, they said data belongs to government because it's a safeguarding society issue. They go, well, we have 1.4 billion people in China. We have 72 BRI, One Belt, One Road countries they own, all right? And so they said, we can't use individual rights, civil rights to do that. We will use data. And that's why they're super heavy on blockchain. 80% of world blockchain patents are in China. So the answer to where is the future, China, I'm not a promoter of China. I'm not here to promote, but I'm saying China is an exemplar of where it's going to go, where blockchain can actually change society and through money and non-financial assets, financial assets and non-financial assets. So I would say I'm not saying copy, I'm not saying do it, but there is a reason why China has the first, central bank digital coin, et cetera, because, in America, which I assume is where you live, my brother, the fact is there's only one currency of life, and that's money, right? Nothing else matters. You can be black, woman, Mexican. If you have money, you're okay. But if you don't, you're screwed. All right. In these other countries that are looking to set up coins, et cetera, stable coins that have different value sets, they can align, attach values to the money. And that is, I think, inspiring. And I would like to think it will come to America as well. Okay. So, the BRICS coin, Brazil, Russia, etc., is an anti-dollar coin. Because when you think of dollar, you think of McDonald's, KFC, American values, right? So theirs is a values-driven thing. So money does have values. I hope that answered it. Thank you. Seems to be a few other questions. Yeah. Right.
If you please go ahead.
Hi, Edna.
I see Matthew. You've got a question.
Sorry, can you repeat yourself, please?
Yeah, the Matthew, I think, is that next?
Oh, okay.
I have a question. So I'm looking into asset-backed tokens and creating one. And I'm on your website. It's using words like invest and own a meter squared of crop. So I'm just wondering how you're able to offer something like an asset-backed token not listed on an exchange.
Right. Very good question, my friend. So what we did was this. In 2017, when I went to list the Serratio token, I went through the FCA because I know it's not very common to do that, but that's what we did. And when they said, at that time, they didn't know anything about cryptocurrency. And they said, what? And I said, we're trying to tokenize happiness and love and kindness. And they went, what? But what about tax? And I remember saying, you can't tax love, man. You can't. And they went, oh my God, okay, approved. And I went to 3 committees because they thought this is an intangible asset. It's an intangible asset. This year, Matthew, in March this year, I applied to enter to the Bank of England and to the FCA to register intangible real world assets, IRWAs. And the Bank of England was super excited. They had a 43-minute meeting. It went well. They're excited by the idea of bringing happiness and into things like GDP and so on, so on, so on. But the FCA went, no, please. We only do financial instruments. So if you are creating happiness and you wish to tokenize and give a reward to that, or ESG, environmental stuff, and fine, but we don't regulate it. So they told me in writing, they will not regulate it. You're free to go. Okay, green light. And so, Matthew, that's how we've done it. And if you look through the website, you're absolutely right. Some of the words are awkward, to be honest. Like we say, we don't actually say purchase a crop because you're not purchasing crop. You're purchasing the ESG rights. And in all honesty, what the hell would you do with one crop of coffee in Africa, in Kenya? What would you do? You're over in wherever. All right. You're investing in the ESG rights. So we test the law, and that's how we do it. It's a hard subject. It's not easy. It's not, I'll be honest, when I got rejected after the Bank of England showed so much interest, I was a bit hurt because I thought, wow, they said this is the first new asset class in 380 years. And I went, wow. And then they went, but no. All right. And at first I thought, but actually commercially it's a lot better because I don't have to go through a million hoops, AML, KYC, and all the other stuff that go through it.
Well, absolutely. I'd love to launch an asset-backed token on a website. Like, I really want to meet with you outside of this meeting to get some more, to pick your brain a little bit more, because that's probably the biggest hurdle that I'm facing with it.
Somebody on the stock market yesterday said, do you realize your Telegram has got your phone number? Are you mad? You have shareholders now. I went, I'm transparent. People want to contact and talk to me. I'm here to do good, man. You can Google my name. Someone Google my name. I was shocked to find out what it said. I would be loved to help you. I would love to help, and I'm really feel privileged to give you the opportunity to speak to people today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You have other questions? Malick, your hand up?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you very much, Olinga. I'm just looking at the website you shared, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very curious about the technology used because land ownership is a problem in most parts of West Africa. And in my country, the Gambia, we have a team of crypto enthusiasts who are looking at building a land registry on the blockchain,
Yeah.
And and it's just amazing how you demarcate the plots of land where you have, let's say, for example, Kimbimbi Farm, you have plot 104. So that would be like someone's property, and this is very transparent. So I'm just curious about the technology used. Can you share?
Okay. So the first thing to know, you're everywhere in the world, not just Africa. Land is regulated. Okay, hundreds of years, way before you and I, even people as old as me. Way before my time, it's been regulated. So my advice is don't even bother to try it. Yes, you might try and change the law, but honestly, pretty well. In India, they've clamped down on this. So what we did was we went, in the case in Kenya, we went to the CMA, the Markets Authority, the Capital Markets Authority. And if we were to buy the land, sell the land tokenized or fractionalized, we would be up against the law. And we'd have to enter sandboxes, okay, for them to do it in a very small, tiny way. We are not selling the land. We are buying the ESG rights to the land, the goodness of that land, the good part of that, okay? And that is outside the law, both in Kenya and in London, all right? And that is how we have done it. And so the technology, the idea of picking like a pin a tail on a donkey, picking your plot, is a bit of a gamification, but it's also got inspired by that Art Boyle family. I made, my first lot of money I made out of art because I did something like that when I was young and beautiful, and now I'm old and ugly, But the fact is, John, by the way, you didn't have to nod when I said that, John. Okay, you could just keep your face straight next time. So the
actually working on my presentation. That wasn't for you.
Okay. So the point is, I like the idea that a pin prick, you choose your thing and then you create the value. It's your plot of land. Like when people sponsor a bear, a child, they don't own the bear, they don't own the panda, they don't own the child. They are emotionally connecting to that child. Okay. And it's the emotional connection because, in my speeches on blockchain, I go, money has value, gold, diamonds, but so does love, happiness, and kindness. That has value, doesn't it? So let's tokenize that part. Let's be able to actually attach value to those things.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm sounding like a crazy guy now, but yeah.
We were just looking at, building transparency so that when one land is actually sold to someone, you can't really, resell it.
No, right. 100%. You're right. 100%.
So we were we were trying to create that technology where if you're in the diaspora and you want to buy a land, at least there's somewhere you can go and verify that, maybe this person is the owner of the land, it's not sold to someone else, because you can have one land sold to like 10 people.
Yeah, it's a typical blockchain double spend problem, isn't it? Absolute typical blockchain double spend problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure, sir.
I was going to ask you, Olinga, so it sounds like you really were able to find kind of I don't know, kind of like a catch-22 or a workaround with these ESG, right? Because I mean, I've been working on this for some time. And it seems like we're always up against, this regulation, that regulation. But it sounds like the way that you guys did it really made it beautifully easy.
Honestly, I think you're right. I hate to flatter myself on this, but I believe you're right. We are in the team, we are bankers, senior bankers, and so on, right? People, and we deliberately did it this way. We deliberately didn't get the bankers to go in because the regulators would go, "What? You should know better," right? I went in as a mad professor, and they went, "What? I'm sorry, tokenized love? I'm sorry." What? And so we did it, how I said it is basically how we presented it, in all honesty. And I went, "You can't tokenize love. We can't tax love." And I went, so effectively we have created for now a social impact. This company that I've taken over last week on 23rd of September. I became the executive director of this PLC, and I think it's the first social impact quoted company in the world, a quoted company that is actually about delivering social impact. That the transaction is in social impact. Okay, right now I'm using it as a shell. It's called Wildcat Petroleum PLC. It's a shell of a company, and I'll have to change its name. I've just only now taken it off a delist, put it back on the listing market, and so on. That's a few days ago. Share prices doubled, blah blah blah. But the point is, I want to transact goodness. That's the whole point. I want you to do good, you get rewarded, whether you're a company or an individual. That's
great.
The premise. Cool.
Other questions?
Yes, I have a question, and thank you so very much. This has been such a great help and insight. I'm scheduled to present on the 23rd of this month. It'll be virtual, pertaining to ESGs, not necessarily Bitcoin and all of that, because I'm a novice. I'm learning more, and I'm grateful for this program. But what would you suggest? And it doesn't have to be anything lengthy, but what would you suggest should be a major thing that I address in terms of theme? Because the way I have it structured is that, I'm dealing with some of the things that you're talking about relative to the land, and I also touched into corruption and all of those other things that had impacted the viability or the ability for Africa to thrive the way it should. Can you give me anything that I can consider while I'm doing this?
I'll keep it, Gail, very simple, because you told me to. And you seem
yes, sir. I did say that.
You seem like a tough instructor. Okay, so Gail, I'll tell you, very simple. Years and years, guys, like you and me and others have been working in corporate social responsibility, CSR, social impact, blah blah blah. The problem is that we are always detracting from financial value. So you go to shareholders and you go, "Let's help these people in Africa." And they go, "Well, this should be money going to our profits. It's my money, man. Dividends, my money." So it's a detraction from it. What blockchain, the only big thing that blockchain, no, I apologize. Blockchain done many great things, but the biggest thing for me, it's it allows for arbitrage, financial value and non-financial value, because the financial systems are based on this money, that gold, da da da. You can buy and sell, etc. But the things that matter to us individually, happiness and kindness and support and goodwill and etc., are non-financial assets. And for the first time ever, blockchain has the ability to bring them onto the same platform. You can arbitrage between them because you can tokenize both. And you could not do that before. And so that is the revolution that blockchain has enabled the world to happen. And that's why China, despite people hating them, and I understand why, of course, but why they go social credit systems, why they go, because they have enabled to reward at least the first steps of rewarding behavior with money, etc. Some of the couple of projects I'm involved in, Gay, like the Ministry of Tolerance and the Ministry of Happiness in UAE, they have Ministry of Happiness, Ministry of Tolerance. We don't have that in America, do we? And they wanted to set up a bank where you reward happiness and tolerance. Interesting, huh? And in like Saudi, very strict country, they have a new city called Neom, $500 billion. The point is they want to set up a new city based on new ecosystem, not just financial, not just about money, because what's money to Saudi? I mean, it's nothing. They want to set up a new society based on different kind of ecosystems. So I think the point, Gail, I would bring up is that we should look at blockchain as the ability to arbitrage between financial value and non-financial value.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.
I'll put it in a way that it really hits the point. So, and I might reach out to you as well.
Gail, you're more than welcome. Anytime.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions for Olinga? Very, very fascinating perspective we got there. Anything else anybody would like to ask?
Yes. I see there's a question in the chat box, John, from Samuel.
Okay, Samuel will go, and then we had whoever else was just spoken up. We can go next, but Samuel, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much for this chance. So my name is Samuel. I happen to come from Kenya, and to be specific, around these regions where coffee is mostly planted, I have seen it's around the regions of Mount Kenya and Kirinyaga, to be specific. Yeah. So my question happens to be, I'm interested to know the role of the government when it comes to this BNU project, because I understand that the middlemen happen to be mostly coming from the government, and that's where a lot of the money that is supposed to be going to the farmer is lost along the way. So how did you manage to cope with the government, because the coffee is a product that is of much interest to the powerful men in the government? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Samuel. I think it's a great question. Okay. The answer is that we complied with all the regulation and laws in the government. Okay. And we went through the authorities in order to make sure we are not treading on the wrong side of those laws. But it is correct to say, sir, that if you talk about intermediation, if you talk about, the mediators do not like to hear that. What they want their role and their margin. Okay, so you're not going to get many fans because you're taking away their margins in between. In Kenya, of course, in particular, it is big money, and lots of death threats can happen and stuff like this, and it's not a problem that is trivial. I'm not going to pretend it's trivial. All right. But we registered BNU in London. Okay. So it's not registered in Nairobi. It's registered in Quickmart, is in over in Kenya. And the farmers are in Kenya. But the company that's doing this is based in London. Okay. So outside the reach of people who want to scupper the plans. But hey, I'm not going to be naive and tell you, Samuel, that the fight is easy. All right. It may be hidden. We haven't come across it yet, but no doubt at some point, if you're going to upset people's money in their pocket, then it will happen. All right. It will happen. So we've taken precautions. We've put the company in London. We have new, complete separate management to do that. And it's a global project inspired by Kenya and piloted in Kenya. The same way, about Tesla drivers and no, Tesla will not want, will they, people to be reminded where the batteries come from. They don't want pictures of children mining, shared with them. But you have to, now it's a new world where you can connect one side completely to the other. And that's the exciting thing, when I saw that guy in Kenya and I visited all the farms in Kenya and I saw the guy with his machete and his mobile phone, I went, there you go. That's the trick. He's got a mobile phone. We can connect, okay, to the woman in LA or New York or whatever. So we use tech to bring greater equality in the world. But I'm not going to pretend your challenge, your question is not trivial. It's very, it's a very serious question.
All right. Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Other questions for Olinga? Very good. All right. Well, this has been very informative and eye-opening. I'm going to have more questions for you as well, because the approaches you guys took are very, I guess, innovative to get things done. So really good. And if you're able to stick around for the end, we'll have a broader Q&A. I'm going to just do a quick overview on the things happening in the market right now, and then we'll get to that. All right.
I'll stick around.
Thank you. All right. Let me share my screen. Give me a moment here. All right, there we go. Make sure we got our sound because we're going to need that. All right, everybody see my screen? Hey, everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to just go through some of the latest developments in blockchain across Africa, US, Asia, and diaspora. So one of the biggest ones you can do here is Bitcoin is very close to an all-time high again. We are currently sitting at, let me close this guy up. We are currently sitting just under 123,000, which is a previous all-time high earlier this year. And this goes back to what we were talking about with Isaac. My expectation, because, kind of looking at the world that Olinga operates in, right? Most of these corporates are buying Bitcoin. Either they're doing it quietly, putting it into their treasury and not telling anybody if they're not required to by law, or some of them are doing it publicly now, right? Like MicroStrategy or MetaPlanet in Japan. But what's happening is so many big players are buying Bitcoin. There's only a limited supply. There's only 21 million ever, right? So many of them are buying Bitcoin at this point that it's almost impossible that the price can stay any further down, right? So the likelihood is it looks like we're moving towards what we call a super cycle, which means that usually it just goes up like through the end of this year in the 4-year cycle. But it looks like there's a good chance it could keep on going up through 2026, at least a good part of that year as well, or even longer. So, and that's what I was talking about, Isaac, when we were talking about the over-the-counter. Most of these big players, when they're buying, they are not buying based on, even though there are traders, what they're doing is they're buying it and they're holding it because they're like, look, there's 21 million ever. I think 4 or 5 million have probably been lost. Like the keys were lost, whatever was lost, right? So what they're doing is they are quietly making sure that they have it. And in a few years, a lot of people think like 2030, most people feel we're going to be at $1 million Bitcoin, right? And that is what people's play is. And obviously beyond that, all things stay the same, will probably be even higher. So every 4-year cycle, basically Bitcoin's been adding a zero and it's staying consistent which means that if we have a super cycle and we have our next one, we could easily be seeing that $1 million Bitcoin, which is why, to me, while I don't trade, okay, so I'm not a trader, but even if you are a trader, I would strongly suggest, again, not financial advice, but at least keep some Bitcoin, right? Don't trade all your Bitcoin away and then come back. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes I made the last cycle is I sold off a lot of my Bitcoin to take profits. And I wish I'd kept it. I wish I had kept that, right? So you don't want to be in that position more likely when Bitcoin does hit $1 million. Okay. This should be something thought of as generational wealth for your children and your children's children, and not so much as something that you kind of like, hey, you know, I made like 20% on it, I'm going to sell it. All right, so rising geopolitical role in the US, right? So the US, of course, now President Trump has basically made a lot of regulatory clarity, work with the Congress, and now the US is pretty much positioning itself as a leader for crypto globally. The infrastructure is being put in place, right? Mining infrastructure, AI integration, international partnerships. And because the US is doing this, a lot of people are coming on board. I think a lot of people were very tentative before, but now the US is doing it. All of a sudden, everybody is really wanting to get in. Nigeria, I think Malick was talking about it, right? They were banning it, and now they're like, hey, we got to regulate it. We got to figure out what to do. Ghana's doing it. Everybody is getting on board now, and this is moving really quickly, which I think is a good thing for Africa and global Africa, by the way. African partnerships. So strategic African mining operations extend the US influence, right? And so there is a lot of investment happening both from the US and China competing to invest in that. And we're also working on some from our Wakanda group and meetups and some of the stuff that I do in my companies to also be able to invest in these types of mining and then tokenization as well. So this is really like a race now to get these things in place, because Africa represents the largest growing market, growing youthful population, and everybody understands that, you know, basically, you know, whoever, you know, runs Africa is basically running the world. And that's what these superpowers are trying to do. And that's why we have these meetups, because I think that it should be the people, the descendants of Africa, the children of Africa around the world who should be the ones who are doing this. It shouldn't just be the global powers. All right, as I always say, Africa is our inheritance, right? So it shouldn't be something we just sit back and watch other people do this. Okay, Africa's blockchain boom, right? So we have VC investment is really at a very high level in Africa right now. It is one of the, I think by transaction, it has more venture capital dollars coming in total. However, I think transaction size, there are larger transaction sizes, but the number of transactions, I guess, for this is huge. And then the regions, Nigeria in West Africa, South Africa, and Southern Africa, obviously, and Kenya in East Africa are about 80% of blockchain innovation, though others are coming on board, right? You've got Ghana, you got Rwanda is doing different things. You got other places that are also coming into this, but this is really what's happening. And I'm glad that Nigeria decided to get on board, being that, you know, family comes from there. I'm glad that Nigeria is moving in that direction. Okay? Financial inclusion. So the revolutionary AI, you know, you have AI, there's basically two rails for the future. You're going to see a video I'm going to play in a little bit, which is maybe a little bit of a controversial one, but I think you guys need to see it. Okay. So AI and blockchain are the two basically pieces that are going to be in place here, right? So on one side, you're going to have AI, and that's going to, it could be either for the good or the bad, because it's really changing things like in America right now, changing things in Western countries right now. Everybody's really kind of on the edge of their seat to see what's going to happen. And then you got blockchain. So AI is very centralized and controlled, where blockchain is very decentralized, at least depending on which one you have, like Bitcoin, things like that are very decentralized, right? So it's almost like a balance to the AI piece of it, and very important, especially for Africa, which has been kept out of the financial system like forever, right? If you listen to Olinga's talk, like forever, Africa has been out of the financial system. And it's not just Africa. I mean, if you're in the Caribbean, if you're African American and you've been redlined in a community where you can't get loans, I mean, it's not just happening in Africa, right? It's basically happening to the children of Africa all around the world. Okay, so the crypto market, here's a snapshot. 9.3% global Bitcoin volume is in Africa. which has actually surpassed North America at 9%. So that's a lot of transactions. I'm glad to see it. I would like to think that our meetups have had some part in that, but and a lot of things that I'm sure have been doing it as well. 60 billion, Nigeria's dominance in this, 60 billion in crypto transactions between 2023, 2024. And Malick, to your point, this is actually some of the times when they were banning it. So you can see the bans really didn't ban anything. They banned, but not really. Okay. And then the three top markets we talked about, Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. Notable shift, users are increasingly diversifying from Bitcoin to stable coins and other factors as well. But I do want to make this really clear. I have nothing against stable coins. I especially like the gold-backed stuff, things like that. Those are really great. However, if you want to make significant profits, you really need to have some Bitcoin or maybe Ethereum. If all of your investments are in stable coins, the most you're ever going to make is like 4% in a high yield stake or account, right? And that you're not going to beat inflation with 4%. That's just not going to do the job. So you really need to have some of those more volatile assets. But again, I mean, like my team, I have an Africa. I pay them with stable coins because, it's just easy way. It's a digital dollar now, basically. And it's a very easy way to transact. But that is more of a short-term transaction. Long-term, you need to have investments that are going to beat inflation. And most people agree who are informed on it that inflation is definitely double-digit, no matter what the numbers are that are provided. Okay, so African diaspora's role, right? So, of course, being able to send remittances and funds into Africa, and this could be folks who are in the Caribbean, anybody in Europe, being able to transact. You can do business, you can do deals, you can, as Olinga was talking about, anybody who's got a phone now, you can transact and do business with them. So there's a lot of opportunity there. So there's 100 billion plus annual opportunity. I have not quantified that in terms of the TAM or total addressable market. However, I would think that's probably a low number, to be honest with you. And then bridging the gap. So Africa AFDIF connects short-term aid with lasting impact, fostering innovation. So we got a lot of people who are doing this kind of thing now, who are enabling financial solutions on the blockchain. And to the point that Malick made, be careful of scams still. There are so many. I'm pretty sure there are people out there saying they're me. I've had this happen quite a number of times now. And anything that you're doing in this space, anytime there's money involved, there are going to be scams. So you got to be careful. Don't just be like, hey, this is fine, right? If you're looking for something where there's no scams, you really just put your money in a bank account, although you'll probably be losing a lot of money. So you have to be very careful of that side of things. All right, blockchain.com, which is in the US, they have been expanding across Africa. So they are now targeting Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, and licensing. And I'm glad to see Nigeria has again loosened up, because the Binance had like an executive there and he had a very poor experience, but now it looks like they're doing a much better job. So I'm glad to see that. Enhanced regulatory frameworks boost the investor confidence as well. So everybody is now laying out their frameworks. I know Ghana is working on theirs. I think Nigeria is getting theirs in place, and all across the continent this is happening. Probably Kenya, South Africa as well. African governments are increasingly crafting balanced frameworks to nurture trust and safeguard consumers, and that's exactly what we want to see happen. So that's great. So stable coins. I'm going to play a video for you guys first, because there's Bitcoin, there's stable coins, there's CBDCs, and I will come back. So I'm going to go over to this video. Let's see. I'm hoping you guys are able to see it. And there will be a little bit of shock value here, so I'm just letting you know that. But this is the reality of CBDCs. So here we go.
There is this
Let me know. Can you see this? Can everybody hear me?
Ad
See
that
it?
just came out that you guys need to check out. You guys do remember who Palantir is, right?
See in here?
Data integration company that's helping.
Yes, we can hear.
Department of Defense, the IRS, the DOD, Doge, and all these, and ICE, the people's handling immigration. But check this thing out, y'all. This is crazy.
Good morning, citizens. Your overnight account balances have been updated. Time to start a productive day. Final notice, your account balance is below 500. You need 50 credits by the end of the day to avoid automatic eviction. If you have missed work due to illness, you must provide a doctor's note to reclaim your credits.
Any extra credits? Please.
Tensions are high Detroit today with more people planning to join the Citizens Against Digital Control protest. Remember, the government knows who you are at all times. Resisting is not worth the consequences. All of their newest social credit systems are designed to keep you and your families safe and efficient.
Authorities seized a record balance of an individual's credits, citing excessive hoarding.
Traffic violation detected. 7 miles per hour over the limit. 75 credits have been automatically deducted.
You have to be fucking kidding me.
Yep, you got the flu. Your blood work shows a significant iron deficiency. I recommend incorporating more red meat into your diet.
Dr. Jones, your taxes were not filed and have been automatically deducted with late fees. Your medical license has been revoked.
Oh, hell nah, I filed an extension.
Purchase denied. Monthly red meat allowance exceeded. Try mealworms instead.
Can you guys please let me through?
Attention. Unauthorized political gathering detected. Participants' access to financial services has been suspended. Due to the speeding infraction, your car will be immobilized for 3 days.
Fuck you! Take your surveillance policies and rot in hell!
You've earned 50 bonus credits for reporting your neighbor's hateful misconduct. This content exceeds your current social credit tier. May we suggest citizen responsibility? Sarah, open the door. You have been identified by the authorities. Don't resist. Don't resist. Don't resist.
All right, so that may be a little today, seem like it's a little bit over the top. However, the reality is that there is a very big difference between Bitcoin, which is free, it's open, anybody throughout Africa, anywhere can use this. Nobody can really stop you, even though I'm not telling you not to obey the laws, but nobody can stop you from using it. Like look at Nigeria, right? They said, oh, we're not going to allow Bitcoin. Obviously, it's the biggest transactions besides America in Bitcoin. And then you have stable coins, right? They are similar. I mean, they're pegged to $1, but a bunch of people can issue them. So they're issued by Tether and this bank and that bank and this company. And so there's a lot of different people you can use their stable coin, right? But the CBDC, the difference is controlled by the central bank and the government only, which means that if there's anything that you do, like in that video, that the government does not like, they can immediately shut off your funds. And this actually happened. Lingo was talking about China. I've done quite a bit of business in China. It actually happened in China where they have a lot of accounts that have been shut down, I think even recently, where people are either not able to access because it's completely controlled centrally. You have no ability to access this. So I would consider myself a technologist. I've been in technology like all my working career and coding since I was a kid, right? And I'm an Afrofuturist. Like I have a kind of a view of what the future of Africa. I think that this is very good. Bitcoin is very good for Africa. I think stable coins are useful because they allow us to be in the broader financial system. I'm personally not a big fan of CBDCs for the reasons that you guys saw in that video, because there is the real potential for these things to be abused. And in Africa, we've already been dealing with this for a long time, which means that let's say that, you offend the US president. Let's say you offend somebody in the EU and they don't like what you said. They can shut off your money, your country's money, just like that, right? And there's nothing you can do about it. So this to me is, especially for African diaspora, this is a really dangerous path. Even for those who are in the West, same thing. But I want you guys to really have that distinguishing when you hear people talk about Bitcoin versus stable coins versus CBDCs, and cryptocurrencies would fall in more into the Bitcoin category generally. But I want everybody to understand the difference. And before I even go on, any question about that before I continue here? Comment, thought?
That was a great video. I'm trying to look on TikTok right now for the source. Can you post a source on the?
Yeah, I can share the link for it.
Thank you, bro. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, thoughts anybody has on that? Is that what you thought it was? Is that shocking? Are you like, no way?
I find it to be very believable. I can remember several years ago, probably 1990, 1992, I was at Howard University, freshman.
Mhm.
And I lived with a couple that worked for the government. And this movie, Total Recall, had came out. And we were sitting there watching it, and we saw where Arnold Schwarzenegger shoved this thing up his nose and pulled out this marble-looking thing. And it was a tracker. And the wife says, "No way that would happen." The husband goes straight to the bookshelf, pulls out a book, turns to the exact page that talked about a microchip coming in the near future that would be encoded with all your information, and it was the size of a rice grain. Well, they tested it out on the animals, so pet owners, if you lost your pet, they just wave this gun over them, and bam, all the information comes up in the computer.
Yep.
A more recent discovery, there's this app called 360. A news station had covered the story where this guy kept moving from insurance company to insurance company, but the rates were still the same. And he was wondering, why are all the insurance companies quoting him the exact same rate? Well, come to find out, Life 360 app, it's a free app. It collects your information and it sells it to the insurance companies. So no matter what insurance company you go to, you're going to get quoted the same thing because they're sharing your information about your driving habits. And on a funnier note, this lady was driving one of the mobile carts in the grocery store, and she was flagged for speeding through the app.
What?
So her insurance
Yeah, that sounds about right. Speeding. Okay.
So I find this very believable. It's not far-fetched based on my knowledge and from what I've seen with technology.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Those are very good perspectives right there. Appreciate that. Any other thoughts on this? And I talk about this because I think for Africa, as we craft our own future, and for diaspora, we really need to think about what we want our future to be, right? Because we have been colonized for 100 years, few hundred years at this point. The last thing that we need is to do it all over again, right? So this really matters. Any other thoughts?
Hello. I have a question, or I guess just trying to understand, why would countries, I guess, want to start the CBDCs? Like, I know like the Bahamas, and I think like Jamaica and some other countries, like, why would they want to do that if it's not really beneficial?
Well, I think, Danielle, great question. I think it's the same reason that a lot of countries, in Africa, Caribbean, diaspora, Latin America, the same reason, Southeast Asia, it's the same reason that they do a lot of other things not beneficial for themselves, is because basically Western countries control the money, right? And if Western countries are controlling the money, and the IMF and the, central banks, they say, "Hey, Danielle, we're not going to give your country any money unless you do ABC," right? Well, you have a couple of options. Either you can go rogue and be like, "No, I'm not going to do it," but then your country might starve. I think Haiti might be a good example of that. Or you can say, and they have other reasons why that happened in Haiti. I'm not going to go into that deeply right now, but it had to do with the Haitian Revolution. Or it could be that you say, "You know what? Yeah, we're going to play. We're going to get on board. So no, this isn't the best thing necessarily for our people. I don't think it is, but we're going to do it because we don't want you to cut us off," right? This to me, Danielle, is why Bitcoin's so important, because all of the money right now is flowing into digital assets, and a lot of it's flowing into Bitcoin, right? So if you are completely like beholden to the IMF and the central banks, you as a country are going to do a whole bunch of stuff that's really bad for your country, right? You're like, hey, they said to do it, I got to do it. But let's say that your country has significant like Bitcoin reserves or other asset reserves that you're like, you know what? My reserves are so big now that I don't really even need your loan and I can pay off any loans that you gave me. Well, now you might have a little more freedom to make decisions that are better for your country, right? Or for your people. So it really is because countries are still beholden to the money that comes from the West, particularly the US dollar.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
May I add something here?
Yep.
Okay. Everything John says is correct, but I'm going to add some other perspectives because I've been on the other side of the table as well. All right.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example of why you might want to do things, and it does create problems, as John has pointed out. So, for example, in the UK, there are social benefits. There are social benefit systems. It's an ecosystem. In America, you don't have a very strong one, but in Britain, you do okay if you're jobless and or disabled or disadvantaged. But of course, the government and the bill is huge now in the UK. It's enormous every year, and it's a real conflict. And just like Trump is clamping down on these things, in Britain the same thing. My own daughter is disabled, so I understand the battle. But if you're in the government and you go, okay, I'm giving you all this money, and now I see you're spending it at the liquor store and eating chips all the time, and you're now 23 stones, or you're 38 stones, and you're squandering, and we're spending more money now on health for you, so you you look for other solutions, where you do look for linked data, and you look for, well, look, this money is being given to you on the basis that you do not drink, yourself into oblivion every night, or do drugs, or create criminality, or eat the wrong foods. And so you're creating a bigger burden for us in the health system. Why are we paying for this when you should be taking care of yourself? We're giving you the money. So you understand, right? So it is actually, it's not always they do it to us. The fact is, it's considered as a solution also where we do it to ourselves, and it's a way to. So I wanted that video because I've seen videos like that before, and I'd like to see that video anyway again, but it was good. And it's not untrue. There was a lady, when we were designing the system in China, there was a lady who crossed a kind of a place in Shanghai, which is like a square, and her face was lit up on the facial recognition system as doing jaywalking. And it searched the net, found her name, lit it up on the on the billboards. And she went, I wasn't even in that city. Now, if that was in New York, you'd have 5 lawsuits by 5 o'clock, wouldn't you? But in China, they went, oh yeah, well, software, don't worry. Okay, we'll do better next time. All right. So the intention was to try and stop jaywalking for your health. All right. So you don't get run over, using connected data but it can go wrong, and so I don't think it's always to do with nasty, evil empire stuff doing it to us. There's some real good applications, you know. Uh, in all honesty, and I'm not very popular in saying this, but in America, if you've got money, you can do anything, man. You can do anything. You can.
You say in America, Olinga? You say in America?
If you can be the president of America, you can have 34 felonies, and you can do anything.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay. Now, in China, you couldn't. That's reality. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just telling you, you couldn't. You couldn't go first class on a train. You couldn't, if you've got criminality, you've got criminal records, you couldn't, you couldn't leave the country. You can't. So, it's where this is a whole social problem we're all working on together, and it's blockchain, I honestly think, is part of the answer, okay? As is AI and all these things, Web3 and so on. And we're trying to, as are many others, trying to explore better solutions for society. But don't always think it's about how to screw the little man, you know?
Yeah, and I think, Olinga, there's another aspect as well. And I spent, as I think you know, I spent almost a decade in Asia, so I've actually seen money buy stuff everywhere. So I would actually extend your statement to if you have enough money, you can do anything pretty much anywhere. But that's just my take. Okay, but I'll just leave that there.
That's true.
'Cause I have witnessed it. I've witnessed it.
No, that is true. No, that is true. I don't do that. I don't do
But
that.
setting that aside, though, for me, I really don't view this so much, and I agree with a lot of your points. I mean, I think that there are, valid things that you might want to do, and there's always a trade-off between, quote, your liberty and, quote, your protection and your safety, right? And those are always balances that are taking place. My view of this, though, as a, quote, Afrofuturist, if you want to coin that term, is I'm more concerned about what this means for global Africa, right? Because we have been, and I want to put this in the most gentle way that I can, we have been under the thumb of Western policy for the last few hundred years. And this, if it goes wrong, will keep us there for a very, very, very long time, right? So this, as Africa, is my concern. I'm pretty sure that Europe's going to do whatever they're going to do. I'm pretty sure America is going to do whatever America is going to do. But as global Africa, we need to view this from a different lens because we are just coming to a place where we can maybe make a few decisions for ourselves. And the last thing that we want to do is lose the ability to do that again, right? That's my concern.
Got it.
I really don't get into all the, what's the West going to do? Well, let the West do whatever the West is going to do. Not my concern, frankly. Okay? That's not my issue. All right. So I don't know if that gives some perspective, but that's how I look at it.
That's cool. That's great. Thank you.
All right. Good. Any other thoughts here?
Well, I have a quick question, and I don't know. I've been in spaces where they brought up, it was brought up about something called Fed Now, and I don't know if any of this is incorporated in any of the conversations or spaces that you all have been in. But from what was shared, that's something that is of great concern or should be of great concern. I don't know if either one of you all could speak on that, though.
Can you just give us a little more for maybe for me and everybody
Sure.
detail what they say, kind of?
Right. Well, so as far as Fed Now is primarily, and I think it may be tied to something similar to the TikTok that was shown, where it talks about how the banking system, how and it may be just in the United States, I don't know, but how the banking system under the IRS is trying to bring all of that under the Federal Reserve control and so forth and so on, to be able to, and I'm saying this loosely, but legitimately shut down people's accounts and so forth and so on, and everything. And so I'm just putting that out there because that is something that, of course, would concern everybody because it's under the guise of something else to make it appear as if it's something noble, when in fact it is very sinister, okay, if I can just use that word. And so I'm just asking it as a general question in terms of if anyone is aware of that.
So I am aware, but I think Olinga might want to respond first.
No, I may not want to respond first. Look, I view the world now a little different. I don't look at it as bad actors and good actors. Okay. I look at it at everyone in their own way is against their value sets is trying to do good. I mean, part of the inspiration of being you is about being you, and whatever your perspectives are, whether like half of America used to think truth was Biden Truth Commission, and the other half thought was all Truth Social, and so they're all looking at truth, and so no longer can we honestly say that there are forces. I don't believe so, that the forces necessarily with only one agenda. We have 8 billion value sets in the world because there's 8 billion of us, and generally it's more complex. Each of us, for example, has 4 social media outlooks: one for our families, one for partner, one for work, and one we never talked about to anyone else, you know? And so there are, it's, 32 billion value sets out there. AI now can actually ascertain your value sets. It used to be something called sentiment analysis. This is what Meta, Amazon, Google, Apple, etc. work on. They go, people like you might like to buy things like this, and people like you may also want to buy something similar like this, etc., etc. You want to look like Kim Kardashian? Buy these products. TikTok, interestingly, works on a different set of algorithms. It works on ideology. It goes, we know you, Olinga. We really know you. You say you're about women's emancipation, but you're actually watching the hot chicks on TikTok. So we know you. We know who you are. And so they don't sell advertising. TikTok generally sell data to companies to say, if you wish to influence Olinga or Gail or anyone else, then if Olinga tells Gail, do this, she won't listen. She thinks, what's this old man talking about? Who does Gail listen to? That's the person who influences Gail. And so they sell that information to advertisers based on ideology. So China is actually very ideological driven. I'm not saying it's right, but algorithms, even Alipay, WeChat Pay is very ideological. That's why they can shut you down for whatever they want. All right. And whereas America, they go, yeah, we don't care. You're rich. You're good to go, brother. So it's a different premise, I think we are in an exciting role, and I like John's idea that Africa is a new plane. It's a new opportunity, not to repeat the stuff of the past, not just the distant past, but of the recent past. And that this is the opportunity to set the continent alight and lead the world on a new paradigm. That's what I find Africa exciting. It's coming back from a very it's coming back from many miles behind others, but it has the ability, like M-Pesa did, to skip many techs and many generations and go and take it further. So yeah, so that's not an exact answer, but I gave you the politically correct answer.
And I'm going to give you I guess, very direct answer, which I tend to do. Fed now is effectively a pilot for CBDCs, but there's too much political pushback for people to actually implement them. Okay, so they know that they're not going to be able to fully implement it right now. There's already chaos in the streets, so I guess it'd be more. But anyway, there'll be chaos in the streets. So they basically have Fed now, which is like, look, let's just try this pilot. Let's try this with a few large institutions. Let's see how it works. And if it works, we'll roll it out further. And if it doesn't work, well, we'll just pump the brakes for a little bit, but we'll probably bring it back later because that's what we always do. Okay, so that's I'm just giving you the inside thinking as to what Fed now actually is.
Okay,
if you look at it, yeah, that's like, if you look at, it's the same strategy Facebook uses, right? So Facebook pushes out like stuff that completely destroys your privacy. They're like, yeah, we're gonna track you when you go to your car, go to the bathroom, go to everything you do, and you're like, no, I don't want that. And so they put like 5 privacy infringements, and they take back like 3 of them, but they keep 2, right? So it's pretty much the same thing that they're going to do here, is that they will push back and see how much pushback they get. And then it takes it to, okay, well, this is what we can do right now. But you're right, Gail. If there was no pushback whatsoever, it would probably be pretty dystopian.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So it's always back to the people. People think that you all think you have like, oh, we have no say, we have no authority. That's not true. Even if you're in a country like China, there's only so far you can push people, right?
Right.
So it doesn't matter where you are. The people actually, authority of any leader actually flows from the people, even though they'll tell you, no, it doesn't. Yeah, it does. Get any one leader who sits there, even with all their highly armed military, and the entire country is against them, and they're done. It's over, right? So you need to understand how much authority you all have as regular people, regular African diaspora, regular, citizens of this world. Right? It's not everybody wants you to believe that, oh, you're, the only way you can ever do something is if the government said you can do it. No, their authority comes from you. It's the other way around. Yeah.
Absolutely right, John. And I think that would be a dead on arrival thing, just like the e-Naira. Nigeria launched e-Naira.
Yeah.
And I don't really think people really know about it. It was dead on arrival.
Yeah. Yeah. No, nobody trusted that. So nobody trusted that one. And I don't blame them. But at any rate, I'm not gonna speak further into that one. Okay. Very good. Let's keep going. All right, so Afro-Asia, we were just talking about. A lot of you, I remember my time in Asia, I learned about the Belt and the Road. We used to have the Silk Road and the Maritime Silk Road. In antiquity, Asia and Africa did a lot of trading, okay? This is before Columbus ever sailed the ocean blue, before, Europe, did the colonization. Before any of that, Africa and Asia had a lot of trade going on. And basically, China has been trying to restart that pretty successfully, actually. Okay, so there's a lot of investment partnerships that are happening in Africa. I know it's in Singapore, a lot of trade and investment partnerships are happening there. We have trade and finance logistics that are going, and we're seeing a lot of trade routes basically opening, both maritime and otherwise. You have remittances and payments that are going between the regions as well. And of course, China is investing heavily in infrastructure. They've involved in Ethiopia's Renaissance Dam project, and there's a lot of trades. I don't want to ignore or miss the fact that Asia and Africa are doing a lot of trade. In fact, obviously, one of my companies is based from Singapore, and I've been doing a lot of Afro-Asia trade, that was based from that as well. So this is a very big, and a lot of times if we were based in the US or based in UK or something, we don't realize that how big this is. But this is a huge route that trade is opening up. And obviously this is associated with BRICS as well, for many of you that know, BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So we have a multipolar world at this point, and there's a lot happening in both parts of that. Okay, blockchain and AI. So we talked about this. AI is very centralized. There's a lot of people who are very scared about what AI is going to mean. We already know that it's probably causing a lot of job losses, even though some people say it is, some people say it's not. But I can tell you, I can use AI to do, like, for my own startup, my own entrepreneurial work. I can do most of my legal stuff, even though I am a trained lawyer, so not trying to skip the legal system. But I can do, most of my financial projections. I can do my advertising. And this is stuff that I would need to hire an entire expensive team to do in the past. So AI is making it, and people go, oh no, you're still going to hire, you're still going to get somebody for $20,000 to do that. I'm probably not, when I can pay ChatGPT $20. Okay, so AI is becoming very powerful, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. And it's going to integrate with blockchain, because blockchain is the financial layer. Okay, and I know, Olinga, we were talking about earlier, people only looking at the use case of money, but to me, even though there are a lot of other use cases, especially for Africa, the money is a really important use case. Probably the most important one, to be honest with you. Right. So the financial layer is going to be basically AI will be all of the computing and this kind of super brain globally, which could be for good or bad, and we'll see what happens. And the financial, all the money is going to be on the blockchain. It could be CBDCs, it could be stable coins, it could be crypto, it could be Bitcoin. You got to pick the ones that's going to work best, for you and for our people in this case. So the future vision is going to be integration of digital currency and blockchain with AI, monitoring it, preventing fraud. And you see me using air quotes. I'll let you figure out why I'm doing that. Enabling instant conditional payments across borders. Okay, but that is going to be the infrastructure of the future. There's also quantum computing, which I'm not going to get into, although I may have a guest speaker coming up who probably will. She's written a bunch of books on the topic, and she's very focused on Africa, but I will leave that for another day. But AI and blockchain, these are going to be the infrastructure of the future. So as African diaspora, we need to know them well and how to use them for our benefit. Okay, US Africa Bitcoin mining partnership. Of course, there is a lot of activity now coming from the US, especially with the government being very pro crypto now, integrating, doing a lot of work in terms of, it's a great place for energy monetization, because what happens, usually you have a lot of excess electricity. If it's not being used, you can just put that right into Bitcoin mining, and that Bitcoin is valuable, and therefore that Bitcoin is then going to be able to put money into the pockets of whoever needs it, the miner, the people who are generating electricity, etc. Infrastructure development, right? So you're building out the grid in Africa, building out the electric grid, building out the compute that's needed both for the blockchain and AI. We got to be careful. AI uses huge amounts of energy, by the way. lots of water, lots of resources. So just be aware of that. Flexible deployment, right? So American firms are deploying containerized, and also I know one in South Africa that I'm aware of that they're doing containerized operations for AI and can do Bitcoin mining, and you can just put these containers like any location throughout Africa or throughout other locations and be able to start running as long as you have a connection to the internet. So a lot of stuff is happening here, and as I always talk about, money is energy. Okay. So if I tell you, hey, go do this, and I don't give you any money, you're like, yeah, thanks. Okay. Maybe I'll think about it. Right. But if I say, hey, go do this, and here's $1 million to do it, you're like, yeah, you're excited. Right. Money is energy. Right. So that's why we call it currency, because money is energy. And a lot of people say, oh, Bitcoin, there's no value. There's no value. Actually, it's energy to create the Bitcoin, and it's energy that is money. Right. So they're all really one thing. It's one ecosystem. When you're making that Bitcoin, you're mining it, what you're actually doing is you are creating the energy, which is what currency or money actually is. Okay? I'll leave that there. So a new era of digital assets, right? So we're connecting vibrant ecosystem in Africa, which I think all of us as Africans, children of Africa, African diaspora, and friends of Africa, we all should be defining what this is, right? We should not just sit back and let other people define it for us. Strategic partnerships with the US, also with Asia, with China, Singapore, other places, right? These are all happening right now. Technology is converging with AI and blockchain, and this is going to be the future technology stack. And then the future is, of course, digital, interconnected, and inclusive, as long as we make it inclusive, right? Because we have to be very watchful about what we allow in the upcoming years and months. And African diaspora at the forefront of the transformation. And I think that is the end of my presentation. So any questions for me? Also, any questions for any of our other speakers, Malick, for Isaac, for Olinga, or any other topics you guys want to talk about? Let's just go to open Q&A here as we round it out.
John,
okay, I have a question for Olinga.
Sure.
On Being You, on that project, is Being You considered a nonprofit organization?
No, Being You is a profit organization, but the funds going for the ESG stuff goes to a separate farming nonprofit organization, of which I'm not a director.
Okay.
And because it's limited by guarantee, it has no shareholders. And we have some of the great and the good sitting on the board there to make sure money doesn't disappear.
Okay. What percentage is the farmers receiving with the implementation of Being You?
Okay, so we are aiming for 25% as opposed to 2, on average. I said to you 2% is for a espresso. Okay, 5% to 8, on average is 5%. It can go up to 8%. The farmer gets 8% or 5%, let's say, on average. But of course, the person working in the field gets a lot less. I mean, often from the farms I went, they steal the mattresses that they left because that's all they have, you know. They steal the mattresses from the farm and so on. So we have set out in the pitch deck, which I'm happy to share with you, so I can send it to you, that we are aiming for within 5 years to grow that to 25% goes to the farmers.
Okay.
And interestingly, and the way we do it, just out of interest, is that we're looking to set up 10,000 cafes, Being You cafes around the world. Now you think, wow, 10,000. Let me tell you, in China last year, 2 brands each did 10,000 new cafes. Okay. Starbucks have about 40 something, 2,000 cafes, but they're now diminishing because you may know Starbucks is on the decline and lost about 10% this year. So, and the point being that I'm trying to make is that by disintermediating, taking out intermediaries, we have more margin to give not just to the farmers, but also to the people who go there. More services about Being You, finding your tribe all around the world, connecting, especially Gen Z, which I'm only a smidgen away from, as you can imagine, but especially Gen Z, who are looking for their, belonging to groups and tribes that have the values. The fact is, we all have value. Right wing or left wing, we all have value. And so the point is that we're using the margin to give greater safeguarding to farmers, because as Samuel explained earlier, honestly, the intermediary mediators between these in coffee market are horrendous. They go, I love this coffee, we'll buy it for you from $40, and then 9 months from now we'll give you the money. They come in 9 months and go, oh yeah, $3. You go, but you said 40. You go, yeah, that was only 3% of it we found. The rest is rubbish. Either take it or forget it. And then you need the money in Kenya, you can only educate children through privately. There's no public education. So if you want your kids to go to school, you got to take it. So it's a really, it's a real slick system that they've got going. So, we think this is not just about a simple thing about farmers getting greater value, which it is, but also we need to provide a solution to the youth in these countries. Because in all honesty, when John polemic rhetoric, which is absolutely spot on in my belief, spot on. Unfortunately, it ain't John or me. Okay, I'm much older, but it ain't us who's going to do this. It's got to be the Gen Z spirit. I remember, I did a Twitter crypto blah blah space thing last few weeks ago, and I got 2,300. Oh, 2,300. And somebody said, you know that this Kenyan kid got 138,000 on his Twitter space during the riots last year. I went, wow, me. And I remember when I was in August in Kenya, in Nairobi, and they went, the president at first went, oh, silly people. So they're using Twitter. They're using TikTok to talk to each other. Oh, how naive. They have no communication. And then 3 days later, he went, I wish to ban the internet in Kenya. It overwhelmed the country, the riots in Kenya, It's because social media now, of course, controls the communication, When they were doing riots in the UK last year, white riots, I got phone calls saying, oh, make TikTok stop, because they always blame TikTok, because of course TikTok can just move the dial slightly and go, wow, the white riots are happening everywhere. So the fact is, I honestly believe that Gen Z is the spirit. And I do laugh to myself that, I'm kind of trying to head up a Gen Z organization when I'm like almost a foot in the grave now. But it is Gen Z we look to, in all honesty. They've got the spirit and the fight.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Other questions on any of our topics? Welcome, Kevin. Anything that we've covered today, whether it be the CBDCs, BNU, whether it be the blockchain security, trading, any other thoughts or questions or comments?
I have a question regarding Bitcoin. I recently saw a news report that came out of Minnesota where two guys went to this wealthy person's home and took him at gunpoint and robbed him of his Bitcoin. Are you all aware of any new technology or advice to Bitcoin holders in order to protect themselves? Recently, something happened to myself, not with Bitcoin, but I recently, a few months ago, had gotten a letter from Wells Fargo stating that someone had tried to open up a bank account in my name, but the account wasn't open because they wasn't able to verify their identity. A few years prior to that, I did have some Bitcoin. I had like 0.9 shares of Ethereum and probably about 5,000 Dogecoins. And I got hacked. I just only recently learned about cold storage. And after hearing about what happened to this Minnesota guy, obviously his information was leaked. And I'm thinking, probably not a good idea to associate your home address with your Bitcoin wallet. What are you guys' thoughts?
That's a very good point, Eric. I mean, you kind of talked about new technology. I would actually say, in my opinion, this is like the oldest technology in the world, right? That you always have like somebody's got something somebody else wants, and somebody goes to beat them over the head to get it, right? So it's kind of like one of the oldest technologies in the world, to be honest with you. But now Bitcoin is obviously becoming a very valuable thing. So we're going to see a lot more of that. And the other thing is also there's a lot more instability in the West, right? In America, Europe, et cetera, right? There's a lot more instability than there used to be. So you're starting to see a lot more people obviously act in ways that, maybe wouldn't have been as acceptable before. So obviously there is a lot of risk right now. I definitely think you're right. Shouldn't be telling people about what you have or where you have it or what you keep, right, etc. Like in any situation, you should protect yourself, whatever security means you feel is necessary. I think that's a good idea as well. But just secrecy and privacy is very important, that you do those things as well. And cold storage is useful for you to have. But yeah, I mean, to me, that risk has been there a lot. But because the West is, yeah, I hate to say it, I mean, it's just becoming less stable, right? We're going to probably increasingly see more and more of this type of thing, because AI is taking, jobs, and people are getting a lot more, desperate about what they're going to do. And, obviously people who wouldn't even be involved in that kind of thing in the past, maybe they would be now because, things are getting a little more tight for everybody. So I think you got to take precautions. You don't want to be advertising what you have or don't have or where you keep it to people. Don't ever do that. I mean, obviously we do these meetups, but I don't think anybody should be telling anybody about what they have or where they keep it or that sort of thing. That's very important. I don't know if that answered your question. It looks like it might have dropped, so I'm not sure if she's there. But yeah, that's gonna be a concern for everybody at this point. And I think her connection dropped, so she may not be able to answer me. All right, are there other questions?
Just John, just wanted to add, for those that are having this fear of custody, some of these traditional finance, like Standard Chartered, they offer custody services, right? And if you have a lot of Bitcoin and you are worried about maybe security, you may want to look at that option where you get the custody of your Bitcoin to maybe some of these big banks that are offering custody services.
Yeah, I think that's a double-edged sword in my opinion. Other people can chime in if they want, but I think it's a double-edged sword. On the one side, you get the security, these air quotes again, you get the security of the bank holding it for you, right? So you don't need to worry about somebody coming and bopping you over the head because, you don't have it, they have it, right? So that's fine. But the other side of that sword is that, let's say that there's a run on the banks, or the bank for some reason decides they don't want to give you access. Well, you don't have it, they have it, right? So it's a good thing in like anything. You can put money in the bank, you can put stuff in a vault in the bank, right? Safe deposit box. And that's great. And, obviously people take advantage of that. I certainly use banks. But on the other side of it, one of the great powers of Bitcoin and crypto digital assets is that you can self-custody. You can go anywhere in the world and take it with you, right? All you need to have is, your private key, and you're good to go. And if you leave that in the bank, well, the bank may not operate in the country you're going to, or they may not allow access from the country you're going to. So it's a double-edged sword, in my opinion. And I'll open it for anybody else who has thoughts.
Right, and I'm looking at it as centralized exchanges because it's more or less the same, right?
Given it's similar. Yeah, it's similar. The centralized exchanges in America are different, at least in America, because in America, centralized exchanges are not FDIC insured. They're not insured by the government. So if you lose what you have on a centralized exchange, you won't get it back necessarily, where banks are FDIC insured. Yeah. And I think some centralized exchanges may have a banking license now. So that is, so there are some differences with the centralized exchanges. Let's say you're on Binance in Africa. I don't think you have like government insurance backing it, things like that. So. Pamal, does that answer your question? Do you have more on that? You're on mute, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. All right. And as you said, greed and fear. Yeah, that's the truth. That's always the balance. Okay, other thoughts? See, Kevin, you joined us here. Any, I know you didn't get to see the whole session, but any thoughts you have on the topics of the day here? And you may be on mute as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, you're on mute. Okay. Good. Well, I think great session, a lot of topics, a lot of opinions. I really challenge everybody to, as we always talk about, each one teach one. You really want to look at different perspectives because we are really building our own future. Where other regions like America, Europe, even, a lot of parts of Asia, they already kind of have their financial system in place. The way things are done is kind of all there. Africa has an advantage and an opportunity because Africa has been left out of the financial system, and many African Americans and many others as well, in that we can actually now define our financial future, right? We can define how we're going to use blockchain. We're going to define how we do financial inclusion. And so we really have the opportunity to do this for ourselves. And I think that that's a great opportunity to leapfrog and actually even be leaders in many cases, like in Pesa in Kenya, things that Nigeria is doing, and the fintech and the blockchains. There's a lot of stuff where Africa is going to actually start leading. And I think we all global Africa, we all should be doing that. We should be thinking about how do we want to use this, right? There's a lot of good things we can incorporate from what America's done, what China's done, what Singapore's done, what Europe's done. However, we should be thinking about what is our own African and global Africa. How do we want to do this? How do we have the Ubuntu? How do we have, right, Uhuru? How do we have those aspects that are communal, that are unique to us? How do we bring that into what we're doing here, right? And how do we make sure that it doesn't end up just being something where we just follow others and we lose out, but instead we build in that real kind of African spirit and we win in what we're doing. Yeah. So I think that is it. If there are no other comments, we'll wrap it up for the day. Thanks to all of our guests. Thanks to Olinga. Thanks for Malick and Isaac. And thanks for helping out on everything. Thank you for everybody joining us. And you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thanks, everyone.
Next session.
Yes, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.